Yo, I just want to know where all the energy at. The Young Thug situation, I still
Talk to me.
just watching it play out. You spoke for 2 hours. 2 hours.
How? Hold on, bro. How?
2 hours is crazy though.
Now 6ix9ine is a name a lot of people haven't heard in a while. His name was everywhere a few years ago, but after his incarceration, the trial, the release, and the headlines about snitching, things started to go the other way. In early August 2020, during the pandemic, he eventually got out, dropped a whole lot of music, but things went quiet on his end. The last time we spoke about 6ix9ine was when the US government seized a bunch of his assets for unpaid back taxes. And now he's back crashing out on a rap game, specifically on Atlanta rapper Young Thug, who recently got caught up in snitching allegations due to his cooperation with the police. Now yesterday 6ix9ine posted a video on his Instagram story calling out the rap game. But he had some things specifically to say about Young Thug, who's been making headlines after an interrogation leaked where he was very chatty with the police.
Right.
Thug was definitely a chatty patty. The whole situation is shaking up the street side of hip-hop, and one thing a lot of people are pointing out is the hypocrisy of, the so-called street code. It always seems to apply when it's about selling an image, but when real life hits you in the face and you're in that interrogation room, maybe it's not so much, right?
Yo, I just want to know where all the energy at. The Young Thug situation, I stood quiet 2 days just watching it play out. Watching what excuses the people come up with. Every day, every year, every time a nigga come out, y'all move the goalposts further. Oh, nah, bro, it's different. No, it's different, bro. It's different, bro. It's different. You told, like, before 12 in the afternoon. Like, that's a forbidden rule. You can't do that. No, bro, it's okay, bro, because he told after 3, like, bro, it's so easy. They tell you have the right to
lying though.
Use against you could be used in the court of law, whatever the case they say. You have the right to call an attorney right now. You spoke for 2 hours. 2 hours. Damn! It's me beating a horse. Like, I'm not saying that. Y'all heard what y'all heard. Where's all the energy at? Why I hear everybody quiet? Why little baby 21 Savage's Future? Why you not saying that? I'm gonna leave this shit real clear. Me, I do not give a I don't care. I don't give a Since I came home, y'all know it. I wore my shit from day one. Yeah, I did it in what?
So as you can hear, he did ask a very good question, which is, where is all the energy for Young Thug, who now has these allegations over his name? Atlanta rapper Gunna, who used to be a part of Thug's YSL crew, was someone who got a lot of pushback and criticism from rappers for taking that Alfred plea deal back in 2022. And Thug, like a lot of other rappers, has been very vocal about his disdain for the concept of cooperating with the feds, and aimed at criticism towards rappers in general, but specifically Gunna. Now 6ix9ine is someone who's always been defined by two things: his antics and his cooperation. For anyone who doesn't know, 6ix9ine used to roll with a gang called 9 Trey Bloods. That was his way of gaining protection but also credibility from the streets. Rolling with real gang members made his image believable, and he was able to use it to his advantage by selling records. But like always, when you mix rap with the streets, things eventually take a turn for the worse, which it did. At the height of his career in November 2018, it all came crashing down. Tekashi and a few of his close associates were taken down in a massive federal bust.
I like how he said close associates instead of friends.
Rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine, whose real name is Daniel Hernandez, appeared in federal court for sentencing stemming from a gang racketeering trial. Hernandez pleaded guilty and provided extraordinary cooperation to federal prosecutor that enabled the takedown of the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods gang.
Damn!
ATF agents, NYPD, Homeland Security, all moving in at once. What made it crazier was the timing, because just a week before, 6ix9ine sat down on the Breakfast Club and said that the only two things he feared were God and the FBI.
One thing I fear, two things: God first and the FBI.
And then within days, the FBI actually showed up at his door. After his release, however, 6ix9ine's career wasn't the same. Getting the same type of buzz he once had was impossible for him, and his name hasn't been in the conversation anymore. He also became blackballed from the street side of hip-hop after his cooperation with the authorities, and a lot of people have stood firm on the fact that he shouldn't get any support due to that. Now for 6ix9ine, there were some aspects that came into play, like his own gang actually turned on him, which was a big part of the reason why he testified in the first place. Back in the summer of 2018, he was kidnapped by members
they was saying they was cracking his baby mom and all that, so I don't know if 6ix9ine is too bad for what he did, man.
The very same crew he was rolling with at gunpoint, he was forced into a stolen car. From there, they drove him around the city, stopping every so often just to beat.
I want to read that.
Back in the summer of 2018, he was kidnapped by members of the very same crew he was rolling with at gunpoint.
At Ellison's trial last year, the rapper testified about his involvement with the gang. He described the kidnapping, saying Ellison and another man forced him into a stolen car at gunpoint. Said the men drove him around, stopping sometimes to beat and taunt him as he begged for his life. Oh, nah. They'd stop the car just to beat on him? Is that
forced into a stolen car?
That can't be true.
They drove him around the city, stopping every so often just to beat him up and taunt him while he begged for his life. And 6ix9ine is one of the only rappers in history who's had the entire street side of hip-hop turn their back on him completely. I mean, rappers were extremely vocal about him snitching. Everywhere you turn, there was somebody saying something about it. And now we have Young Thug, who's in the same exact situation, and 6ix9ine is pointing out that the hypocrisy is very loud. If you haven't been paying attention, there's been a lot of people.
That's why you need to just live your life, bro. This street code, street stuff, it's never been cool, bro. Their music is just good. The extra stuff they do has never been cool.
People coming out in support of Young Thug.
That's why you live your life, man.
In the rap industry, a lot of the same people who's had a very strong stance against the so-called no snitching code have all been trying to bend the rules, because Thug has a lot of influence in the game and a lot of these people want to be on his good side. And 6ix9ine is getting a lot of attention for speaking his mind in this manner, and he's of course getting some pushback to what he said. His
From
reputation
who?
overall has never been great in hip-hop in general, and Thug is
He's
a rapper
spitting
who's
facts,
very liked
though.
in general. I do believe that 6ix9ine is the wrong messenger here, because
Who cares?
he's caught up in the same scenario. And I'm sure we can all agree that the issue with 6ix9ine goes way deeper than just snitching. I personally never cared too much about it. Sure, he was trying to sell an image and pretend like he was about it, but then again, that wasn't very hard to decipher. And for this particular story, I actually do agree with 6ix9ine. It's honestly sad that there's so many grown men who could be doing so much more in this world instead of worrying about and trying to enforce a so-called street code that doesn't exist at all. Personally, I feel like street culture and hip-hop overall is eventually gonna die down. And as a matter of fact, I personally think it's heading that way.
Yeah, it's happening
People are way
right now,
smarter these
bro.
days, and they can tell when someone is faking the funk, because 99% of the rappers in the game are actors. And I'm talking about the street rappars, because you can't be a famous gangbanger and get away with committing crimes. It eventually catches up to you, and we've seen that in so many scenarios on hip-hop. Part of the reason why
I feel like the labels, or not even the labels, sometimes it's just the rapper themselves that pushes like the gangster look, just so they could get like more views or like more people to talk about them.
People have been attracted to that type of image, especially in the past, is because there's always been a little bit of a question mark. Did they really do everything they're talking about? And that question, I believe, created the intrigue in itself. It's almost like watching an action movie and you don't know if it's based on a real story, and it keeps you playing out a lot of the scenarios that you're seeing on the screen in real life. That's why guys like King Von, especially after his death, became so popular. Everything about his demeanor, everything about his energy screamed, I did that. But then again, how much of who Von was an act? That's another conversation for another day. Now, these days the gag is up, okay? And people know better than to believe fictional stories about all the crimes you've committed. And once in a blue moon, you do hear about some people who are very dumb enough to put actual crimes they committed in the music. And that's when the social media department of the police get alerted. And there we go with all those football numbers again. I know a lot of people don't like 6ix9ine, but can you really blame him? He's not only gotten blackballed from the rap game, but people dragged his name through the mud for years and called him a snitch. They called him a rat, all types of names, which he technically is, right, like a snitch. However, when someone everybody loves ends up being in the same scenario, suddenly people are trying to change the rules of the game. Right. Because people love being selective. And that's what 6ix9ine is obviously seeing. You can't fault him for speaking on it, because again, all these guys dragged him through the mud and dropped all kind of rat emojis in his comments, and all he's saying is, hey, let's keep the energy consistent here. Can we do that? And that's a message he's sharing with the street side of hip-hop, who obviously won't listen to him. But I'm sure it's uncomfortable for a lot of these guys to see that even the biggest people who claim that they're about it actually aren't. It makes complete sense, because obviously a lot of this is, or should I say all this is, entertainment, not real life. And I'm very happy that we've gotten to a point where this, generally speaking, seems to be the sentiment, at least for the most logical human beings. Let's just say that we can see through it like CT scans. People just aren't buying it anymore. And quite frankly, I think people are just overall tired of street culture, because it's causing so much dysfunction out here.
Bro, but anyway, it's kind of played out, bro. I'm more of a little Tony guy, you know. He mixing in that godliness in his music. You feel me? Not that murder kill. That money and God music. You feel me?
Y'all think about 6ix9ine crashing out on Young Thug? Do you guys agree with 6ix9ine, or do you think he's wrong for this? Very curious to hear what you guys have to say, and I'll catch you